Hello villaging friends, and welcome to my channel. As you can see behind me, I have my Halloween display up and going, and now that that's done, I'm starting to make the transition over to my Christmas village. This year, I'm building an entirely new platform, and I'm calling it Holiday Hills. I want to have some warmth and some nostalgia with this Christmas village this year. So, today's lighted accessory that I'll be working on are the original Department 56 yard lights. These have been around since the 90s, and I absolutely love them. The detail is just phenomenal on these. In fact, this is my favorite snowman that Department 56 has ever produced. The problem is the LEDs from the 90s. So come join me as I reimagine these for 2025.
Here we have a set of the Department 56 Decorate with Yard Lights. These products were introduced in 1991 and retired in 1994. These figures are approximately 2 inches high by 1 inch wide. In the early 90s, warm white LEDs didn't exactly exist, and the idea was to use an orange light for a nice soft glow. Come join me as I reimagine these and maximize their full potential with warm white LEDs. Okay, let's get started. Here we have the Department 56 Decorate with Yard Lights. I absolutely love these figures. I had a set as a child, and I picked up a few sets on eBay for, I think, $14 for two. Looking at these, we have stickers where the wires go in on the base, so we're going to be peeling those off to take a look to see what all is going to be required to get the LEDs out. And this is going to be a very simple task. It's just going to be a glue holding everything in. Using my hairdryer on high heat, I'm just going to heat up the base of the figure. Give it a few moments. Normally I would do this on a pillar candle holder, but I'm just going to give this a shot with a blast of high heat and see if we can't pick some of that glue out using my hook pick tool. And the glue comes out pretty well, but that LED is still kind of in there. So I think I'm going to use a little bit more heat in a moment and try to work this LED out. I believe heating up the plastic on the figure is going to make it pliable. It seems like it would have that kind of quality to it. I'm going to go ahead and get that last little bit of glue out of there. That comes out really easily. Just giving the LED a light tug. It is very well in there, and that's a 5mm LED. Let's add some more heat to this and see if the plastic actually does become pliable like I think it will. So again, I'm using high heat. I'm only going to do this for a few moments on each side and see if we can't pop out the LED. Yep, there it is. So as you can see, we have a orange-ish LED that will be replaced. Looking at the other figures, it's going to be the exact same process. So I'll go ahead and get all of the LEDs out of all of the figures in the same method. With the LEDs out, let's power them on for a moment and see just how they look, and that is an interesting shade of orange. Definitely early 90s tech. Taking just a quick look at the figures, the Santas are almost identical to a Reimagined product called Santa and Candles. Before we begin, let's talk about our LED information. These will be 5mm warm white LEDs that are 3 to 3.2 volts, 20 milliamps at 0.25 watts. Now let's calculate for resistance per LED using a 3-volt power source and a 3-volt LED that is 0 volts. I'll be using a 0.25 watt 10 ohm resistor per LED for protection. Let's prepare our LEDs for our figures. Using these 5mm LEDs, I'm going to bend the anode and cathode at a 90-degree angle so it sits barely in the base. I'm going to have the resistor on the back side of the figure. I'm going to wrap the resistor around the positive leg or the anode, apply a small amount of flux, and then simply solder it in place. After this is done, I'll just snip off any of the excess for the anode leg of the LED and for the resistor itself. Once I make sure everything looks good and I don't have any extra sticking points out, so I have a little extra here, I'll take a little bit of heat shrink and slide it up over the resistor to the base of the LED. And that's it. That's all there really is to making the LEDs for these particular figures. Now I can just simply go and wire them in place. Now that I have our LEDs ready to go, I've already gone ahead and done one. I'm going to show you my process on how I've been doing this. So taking one of our pre-made LEDs with a resistor, I'm simply checking for polarity, and then I'm cutting off the LED. Now I am doing this live, and that is perfectly fine. We are working with milliamps, so there is no risk of electrocution when doing this. Remember, when working with electrical projects such as this, it's not the volts that will hurt you, it's the amperage, and since we are working in milliamps, there's nothing to really be concerned about. After snipping back the wires, I'm going to be using a lighter to remove the sheathing from them, as these wires are very old and very brittle. I had contemplated using a new wire for this. Unfortunately, at the moment, I'm out of white wire. Therefore, I'm going to recycle this wire and hope for the best. If necessary, I can always come back and rewire them later. Putting a piece of heat shrink on, I'm going to make sure that I don't have any extra strays from the twist of the wires before I circle on the LED. Now I'm going to do the positive side first here, then I'll apply just a dab of flux once I have the connection up in place, and simply solder. Now I'm making sure to do the solder connection as close as I can to the resistor because I don't want a whole lot of excess coming out the back of the figure. When I display these, all of the excess will be hidden, but when working with such small clearances, we want to have as little as possible. After applying a little bit of flux and just a dab of solder, I can then go back and cut off the excess, and then slide my heat shrink up and use my lighter to secure it in place. I'll repeat this process for the other leg of the LED. Once I have this done for all 4 LEDs, I'll simply insert an LED into the bottom of the figure and secure in place with hot glue. And then we can move on to removing the battery pack. Let's take a look at this battery box. Now, this has a DC jack that is part of the battery box, so there's nothing I can recycle per se with this. But I'm going to use a screwdriver. We're going to pop off this cover and take a quick look. Now that is interesting. There's no resistor. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is just simply snipping these wires off, and I'll keep their appropriate groupings together. I have a DC jack from another power box that I have already pulled out and set aside for this project, and I'll simply attach the wires to that. I've got my helping hand out to hold the DC jack in place while I check for polarity, and also so I can make my solder connections without the DC jack jumping around. As you can see, the lights just flash, so I know what leg is what. I'm going to take a piece of heat shrink and cut it into several small pieces that will be used to cover our solder point connections on the DC jack. I'm going to slide this over our twisted wires and then go back and make sure that the twisted wires, there are no strands that are sticking out that could potentially cause a short later on. Then, using a dab of flux and a follow-up dab of solder, I'll go ahead and make the electrical connection. I am making the connection live, as there's no risk of shock or electrocution with this project. With one side of the leg done, I'm going to go ahead and do the other leg. Once both of the solder connections are in place, I will go ahead and slide the heat shrink up and secure it with a lighter. Then we can move on to our final reveal. Let's take a quick look at the before with the original orange LEDs, and now the after. Well, I'm going to call this a holly jolly glow up. These look phenomenal. I am so happy to have those original orange LEDs out and a warm white in its place. To me, this just screams classic nostalgic Christmas. So tell me, what did you think about this project? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video, like and subscribe for more. Happy holidays, and thank you for watching Department 56 Decorate with Yard Lights Reimagined. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more.